This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by HomelandStupidity.us.
What's going on? Why are we here today? Do we have a permit for being here?
Cranky Concord copper unsuccessfully demanding a permit for a protest in 2008. But apparently Concord authorities made the same demand this month and got away with it. Fosters.com and a New Hampshire Tea Party activist are both reporting that Concord authorities have forbidden a protest in Concord. They say the city government cited an obscure zoning ordinance and refused to grant a permit for a demonstration in front of Congressman Paul Hodes' house. Writing on the forum at nhliberty.org, a Tea Party activist says, quote, "We are on excellent terms with most police departments, but the city of Concord dug up some obscure zoning regulation to protect crybaby Hodes from seeing his constituents. All the more reason to get your fannies to town hall and vote no on all zoning regulations." Unquote. Now, I don't know where this idea comes from that you have to have a permit to demonstrate in Concord. Maybe it's from the ordinance, I don't know. But this is the third time I've heard the issue come up. Obviously, it's selectively enforced. Personally, I've demonstrated maybe 30 times there with no permit, and only this lone cop has ever demanded one in front of me.
Once I did have a permit, but it only specified certain days.
But Barbara Waltz-Senior says she was actually arrested for protesting on a public street in New Hampshire's capital. She says she's an anti-fur protester, and her arrest was, I think, back in the 90s. Anyway, I guess it's yet another option if you're looking for civil disobedience opportunities, though I doubt it would get you arrested in that context. One other note, the Tea Partiers were protesting against Washington's attempts at health care prevention. They wanted to protest against 3 Democratic congressmen and senators around New Hampshire. They complied with the order not to demonstrate in Concord, but they requested and received a permit to demonstrate in Rochester. Ultimately, they held 2 protests near Fed homes, one in Rochester, one in Madbury. Apologies to residents if I'm mispronouncing that. I would like to suggest that they start protesting Republican Judd Gregg as well, since in one way he's even worse than the Dems. He's one of the few elected Americans actively working to prevent Ron Paul's Audit the Fed bill, and he hasn't received near the kind of opposition in New Hampshire I would have hoped. Again, I'm surprised you would even need a permit to demonstrate in Rochester or Concord, and this is a problem. But it did give me an excuse to report on this protest. This is one of the nice things about having the Tea Partiers and 912ers and people like that active, even though they don't agree with us libertarians and everything every time. They run up against the authorities as they're simply trying to use the normal political processes like protesting. And I think it's useful for them to experience and come to understand how bad government is. And the more involved they are, the more liberty-oriented they may become. Until, of course, the day they're in office. Now, being in office never makes you liberty-oriented. The other thing that would have given me an excuse to cover it would have been if someone had just gotten video or pictures and permission to use. Please get those whenever you have an interesting event.
This is Glenn Jacobs. In Homeland Stupidity, if you want to get the news of the day and the best opinions, Homeland Stupidity is where you need to be. It's not stupid.